On the windswept steppes of Mongolia, a child named Temujin was born beneath a blood moon, a name that meant of iron. His father, Yesugai, was a tribal chief, powerful but surrounded by enemies. When Temujin was just 9, his father was poisoned by a rival clan after sharing a meal, an act of betrayal wrapped in false hospitality. With their leader gone, Temujin's family was abandoned by their tribe and left to starve in the wilderness. They survived on roots, rats, and desperation, exposed to the brutal winds of the steppe. Temujin learned hunger before he learned strategy, and fear before he understood loyalty. In this crucible of survival, he killed his older half-brother to protect what little they had, a ruthless act that marked his rise as leader of the family. At 12, he was captured by a rival and enslaved, forced to wear a wooden yoke around his neck like an animal. But even in chains, his will could not be broken. He escaped under the cover of darkness with the help of a sympathetic jailer. Every betrayal carved a lesson into his soul, and every wound hardened his resolve. As he grew, he began forming quiet alliances, not through blood, but through loyalty, merit, and shared scars. He rose not because of who he was, but because of what he had endured. Temujin was no longer just a boy from the steppe. He was the wolf circling the campfire, waiting for his time to strike.
Temujin returned from captivity not as a broken boy, but as something sharper, a survivor honed by fire and abandonment. The Mongol steppes were fractured, torn between dozens of warring clans and chiefs bound by shifting loyalties. But Temujin saw what they could not, a future forged not by noble blood, but by loyalty and discipline. He began gathering those who had also been cast aside, warriors without titles, families without protection, and tribes tired of betrayal. Around a flickering fire, he offered them a new code: strength rewarded, loyalty honored, and treachery destroyed. Slowly, tribe by tribe, they joined him, not because they had to, but because they believed in something greater. His blood brother, Jamuka, once his closest ally, turned against him to defend the old tribal elite. Their clash tore the steppes apart, a civil war between the past and the future. Temujin was defeated once, humiliated and driven into exile, but he returned with a reorganized army and a strategist's mind. When they met again, Temujin crushed Jamuka's forces and executed only the tribal leaders who had resisted, sparing the foot soldiers who had no choice. In victory, he abolished inherited nobility, elevating even former slaves to positions of power. Then, in 1206, beneath the eternal blue sky and beside the sacred Onon River, the Mongol tribes declared him Genghis Khan, universal ruler of all Mongols. The boy had become the wolf, and the world would soon feel his bite. With the Mongol tribes united under his banner, Genghis Khan turned his gaze outward, and the world trembled, though it didn't know why. He had forged not just an army, but a machine of precision and terror, built on speed, discipline, and absolute loyalty. His warriors struck without warning, galloping across continents faster than messages could travel, their tactics honed like blades. The Western Shia were the first to feel his wrath, their desert strongholds no match for Mongol ingenuity and siegecraft. Then came the mighty Jin dynasty, whose fortresses crumbled beneath waves of fire and steel. But Genghis Khan did not conquer blindly. He offered cities a choice: surrender and prosper under his law, or resist and face annihilation. Far to the west, the Khwarezmian Empire made a fatal mistake. Its Shah executed a Mongol trade envoy. That single insult lit a firestorm. Genghis Khan responded with total war. Entire cities razed, their populations exterminated as a lesson to the world. In places like Nishapur, rivers ran red, and the dead outnumbered the living. No fortress was safe, no mountain too high. His generals were ghosts in the night, and his vengeance was absolute. Yet even amid this destruction, there was order. Soldiers who disobeyed were executed, while civilians who submitted were spared and folded into the empire. By 1219, Genghis Khan had carved an empire of ash and iron across Asia, not just to claim land, but to shape history in his image.
Genghis Khan had conquered half the known world, but he sought more than victory. He sought permanence. With blood still drying on the edges of his empire, he turned inward to forge a new kind of order, one that could outlive him. He created the Yasa, a unified legal code that was brutal, unbending, and sacred. It governed everything: theft, marriage, war, loyalty, even animal rights. And it applied to everyone, from the lowest herder to his own generals. No man stood above the law, not even his own blood. He banned the kidnapping of women, protected the poor, and demanded absolute discipline from his soldiers. To hold his vast empire together, he built the Yam, a sprawling courier network with relay stations stretching thousands of miles, a lifeline of information and command. Along the Silk Road, once plagued by thieves and warlords, trade flourished under Mongol protection. Merchants and missionaries now traveled in safety through lands that had once been battlegrounds. Genghis Khan, the destroyer of cities, became the guardian of commerce and faith. He welcomed all religions, Buddhist monks, Christian priests, Muslim scholars, so long as they bowed to Mongol rule. Loyalty was rewarded with power, betrayal was answered with death. Even in old age, he led from the front, punishing corruption, enforcing order, and remaining the empire's fiercest example. But in 1227, during a campaign against the rebellious Tanguts, he fell from his horse and suffered injuries he could not survive. He died quietly, far from the thrones of kings, and was buried in secret. His body gone, but his code engraved into the bones of a continent. Genghis Khan died without monument or crown, buried in an unmarked grave beneath the steppe he once ruled with fire. His funeral procession killed every witness to keep the site hidden, and for 800 years no one has found it. But his legacy was never meant to rest in a tomb. His empire, passed to his sons and grandsons, continued to expand like a storm without end. Ögedei, his third son, pushed westward into Russia and Eastern Europe, while Hulagu annihilated Baghdad, extinguishing the heart of the Islamic Golden Age in one brutal siege. Kublai Khan, his grandson, became Emperor of China, founding the Yuan dynasty and ruling over millions. At its height, the Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific to the Danube, the largest contiguous land empire in human history. Under its rule, the Silk Road roared to life, connecting civilizations with trade, technology, and ideas at an unprecedented speed. The Mongols, once feared as destroyers, became stewards of global exchange, a paradox shaped by Genghis's hand. He had ruled not by lineage, but by vision, not with comfort, but with clarity. Centuries after his death, the world still echoes his presence. Modern genetic studies suggest that up to 1 in 200 men alive today carry his DNA. He reshaped kingdoms, redrew borders, and in doing so, rewrote the fate of civilizations. And though his empire is long gone, beneath the eternal blue sky, one name still rides on the wind: Genghis Khan, the man who bent the world to his will.
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you liked this video. We post videos weekly. Make sure you turn on notifications so you don't miss a single one.